Hello, everybody. All right. Hi, everybody. Come on in. Get settled. If you're not on mute, if you could mute your audio, that would be excellent. And we will get ready to get started. I love workshop days. All right. Hello to Dawn. I see Erica. Feel free to put your cameras on, guys. There's going to be participation and Q&A and all sorts of good stuff here. All right, let me just adjust my camera a little bit here. All right. Hey, Bindu, nice to see you. Hey, Tracy and Kelly. Alicia, welcome everybody. So we're here today on this lovely Friday to talk about self-sabotage and procrastination. And these are things that I am no stranger to, and I'm guessing you guys aren't either. So the title of our workshop today is called Break Free, Turn Self-Sabotage into Success. And it's all about mastering your mind, embracing action, and achieving your dreams. And let me just see. I feel like, Camille, could you just make sure everybody's muted, please? Yeah, there's no if you can't be on camera, that's fine, Dawn. Don't worry about it. I feel like I hear a weird staticky sound, and I feel like it might be somebody's audio. Oh, I don't hear it now. Good. Yay. All right. All right, so let's get started. I'm Teresa. For anybody who doesn't know me yet, I'm Teresa, and I'm really excited to welcome you to this workshop today. And whether you are here live, which obviously you guys are, but some of you will be checking out this replay later or even listening to this audio on my podcast, welcome. Let's get started. So my journey with self-sabotage began long before I actually noticed the subtle patterns in my own life that kept me from living fully. And those patterns have roots in early life. They can be really pervasive, though. We're going to dissect all of that today. The way that the subconscious forms things and how those patterns show up over and over again. There have been moments throughout my life when I've had, big goals, or even just a simple to-do list that I couldn't get to done. And I'd find myself procrastinating, I'd find myself overthinking, or just feeling stuck about it. And I'm assuming that if you are here today, that you can relate to that. Am I right? Feel free to drop something in the chat if that resonates, or if that's something that you can relate to. And Lee, don't worry about it. It happens to all of us, not being muted or whatever. So we're going to explore how these different patterns of self-sabotage and procrastination might be showing up for you today, and then how we can actually transform those patterns into actions more aligned with the outcomes that you actually desire. So again, if any of you don't know me, I'm Teresa Lear-Levine. I'm an EFT master practitioner and a hypnotherapist. I live in Maryland. Where is everybody who's on here from today? I'd love to hear where you guys are from. I'm not too far from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, if we have any other Marylanders here today. So you've got New York and Texas, Kansas, Colorado, Montana, another Kansas, San Diego, New Jersey. That's not too far from me. Michigan, Orlando, Georgia, Florida, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Amazing. We're all over the place. Denmark. I think you get the furthest away award for now, Marianne. Thanks for being here. Seattle. Oh, cool. Bindu is going to be back in my area soon. That's awesome. So thank you guys for joining me from near and from far. And what I do every day is I help people just like you all over the world, entrepreneurs, creators, professionals, high-achieving humans who are brilliant, who are big-hearted, who are driven, but are also like distractible as fuck and stuck in patterns that don't make sense on the surface. But they make a lot of sense when you unravel them. These, they really do. So that's what we're going to do today. Many times I believed that I was doing like all the right things, and it may have even looked like it on the surface to somebody if they were observing my life or my relationships or my business, but I was still having these major setbacks when it came to consistency and follow through, despite knowing what I wanted to be more consistent with, and then how to follow through. You see, like, I think a lot of you are going to relate to this too, because if you're at a workshop, you are a consumer of knowledge. And I know you probably, I've talked to a lot of you here, and I know you're also consumers of courses and even, audio books and other learning materials. We're smart, but these issues with procrastination and with self-sabotage, they're not things that you solve with a knowledge base. They have more to do with our lack of embodiment, our strong subconscious beliefs and our stories, and our ungrounded nervous systems. And most coaching containers, most courses, most how-to books are not addressing that or actually providing the space for you to embody that and do it. When I started realizing, and that's going to change today. So we're going to embody, we're going to change things. We're going to start moving some of that energy today. When I started realizing that everything I consumed for decades still wasn't helping me to get where I wanted to go, that really led me into deeper study of the subconscious, the nervous system, regulating and nourishing it, diving into energy work, emotional healing. And that's where I discovered, more importantly, implemented and even practiced what changed everything for me. So today I want to give you a taste of what's possible when you understand the real reason that you keep getting in your own way and how to shift it, like for good. So before we dive in, I want you to just tune into yourself, okay? What do you feel going on in your body when you think about these changes that we're going to kind of experience right now? Do you feel nervousness? Do you feel excitement? Or maybe my favorite blend, which is nervous excitement? Or is it maybe something else? Let's just start by kind of feeling what's happening for you, dropping down into that. And then if you know what you're feeling and you can, name it, feel free to drop it in the chat. Let's just kind of clear the slate by naming what's going on for us. And then I just want us to take 3 nice deep breaths together before we kind of dive into the knowledge-based part of this, before we get into the embodiment. So everybody, if you can just take a nice deep, and we worked on breath work in this week's episode of Becoming More Me. So if you guys haven't listened to that, my guest Polly Warren shared awesome breath work tips. But one of the things we talked about was the inhale and the exhale through the nose. So we're just going to do 3 nice inhales through the nose, exhale through the nose, and just kind of get back in your body, be here, be present. We'll just start now. Just breathe in, hold it for a moment, and breathe out. Breathe in again. And breathe out. One more time. Make it your biggest inhale of the day so far. Right up to the top. And exhale. Oh, I swear I forget to take deep breaths sometimes. Like the whole day can go by and we just forget what a gift it is to take a nice cleansing deep breath. All right. If somebody's not got their mic muted, if you can just make sure your mic's muted, that would be super awesome. And let's see, let's dive in here. So the first thing I want to help you guys understand is self-sabotage. And we're going to do that starting with a question. So I want you to just think about this. What if your self-sabotage isn't a flaw, but it's a form of protection? And with that in mind, we tend to think of ourselves as lazy. We tend to think of ourselves as unmotivated. We tend to think of ourselves as inconsistent. But the truth is that most of the time, self-sabotage isn't about discipline. It's not about willpower, not even about strategy. It's about safety. So according to author Judy Ho, she's a licensed clinical neuropsychologist and an author. She wrote Stop Self-Sabotage. I think, I don't remember the other part of the book title, but it's called Stop Self-Sabotage. And she describes self-sabotage as a biological response to a perceived threat or a discomfort. Basically, your brain is wired to avoid pain, even if that pain is tied to growth, success, visibility, intimacy, or change. Oh, we got somebody else unmuted.
That's not
Camille,
nice.
can you just mute everybody, please?
Please?
Um,
That's not nice. He doesn't know it doesn't belong to him. Yeah, slap him through the head.
all right, hang on. I think I got it. Um, all right. Sorry, I'm distractible also. So we sabotage ourselves, basically, what this comes down to. The brain's wired to avoid those things. So we sabotage ourselves when the perceived costs of success outweigh the perceived benefits. Okay? So, in other words, if success feels dangerous to any part of your subconscious, it won't matter how badly you want it, you'll find a way to protect yourself from it. Does that resonate with anybody? Have you ever kind of noticed the fear well up right before you get ready to do something? I see Lee commenting in here. She feels like nothing will work for her. I've been there. Let's see. And then some of the feelings that came up before we got started. Curious with a little trepidation. I can appreciate that one. Thanks for that, Darren. And yeah, nervous excitement. Awesome. Very cool. And Kimberly was saying, yeah, just curious to know. Oops, I'm having trouble reading my chat where my screen is right now. Curiosity to know where the methods of healing all stems from. Yeah, let's dive into that. So basically, self-sabotage is what happens when we refuse to consciously meet our innermost needs. It becomes the coping mechanism that we use to stay in patterns, even when they hurt, even when they don't help us achieve our goals or have better connection in our relationships or whatever it is that we're saying that we want the most. Let's make this a little bit more personal. So you've probably experienced moments when everything seems like it lines up, like your goals, your plans, your desire to change, and then you don't follow through, right? You start strong and then you stall. In fact, we're going to talk about a whole stall acronym later on. I've broken it all down. In relationships, maybe like you say, you want more connection, you want deeper intimacy, but then you keep choosing emotionally unavailable partners, or maybe you're with a partner and you keep choosing to be emotionally unavailable or avoiding steps that you can control to enhance connection. Maybe you want financial freedom, but you avoid looking at your bank account or following through with interested prospects or sending an invoice if you have your own business. Maybe you want better health, but somehow you keep skipping the workout, not scheduling the appointments to care for your health, or like numbing out with foods or activities that keep you separate from being healthier. These things are not flaws. It's a protection pattern. But for a lot of us, it's working too well. It's protecting us more than we want it to. So before we dive into shifting the patterns, we need to talk about what's really running the show behind the scenes. It's your nervous system. So the nervous system is your body's built-in surveillance system. Its entire job is to answer one question, moment to moment. Am I safe or not? It's pretty simple, but here's the thing. It isn't about logical safety. It's about perceived safety, which is based in your past experiences, your beliefs, your trauma history, and your conditioning. It's a lot of stuff it's based on. That also means that your nervous system isn't here to support you with your goals and dreams. Neither is your brain. In fact, it doesn't care. Neither of them care if you achieve them or not. When your nervous system detects a threat, real or perceived, it shifts into protection mode. And oftentimes that looks like self-sabotage, it looks like procrastination. And this shift is called nervous system dysregulation. So while we often associate trauma with extreme events, the truth is chronic stress, emotional neglect, high expectations, and unmet needs throughout your life or at any time in your life can lead to ongoing dysregulation. So instead of thriving, you end up surviving, which is it's not optimal for any of us. So a dysregulated nervous system doesn't just show up as panic attacks or meltdowns. It shows up as overwhelm from simple tasks. It shows up as emotional outbursts, shows up as emotional numbness, shows up as inability to rest without feeling guilty about it. It shows up as procrastinating even when you truly do care about the thing that you want to be doing. And it shows up as feeling stuck in a pattern that you consciously want to change. So the way your nervous system responds to dysregulation varies. It depends on who you are and what you've been through. Often we cycle through multiple responses depending on the context. So let's explore the 6 most common trauma responses. And we will start with, we've all heard about fight or flight, kind of as typical nervous system responses. I personally believe there are a bunch more F's that come in here, and some of them are not for little ears. So if you are listening with kids, then just realize this is about to get pretty like PG-13 here in a few minutes. So first one's fight. We've all heard that one. So the fight response kicks in when our nervous system senses danger and believes that the way to stay safe is to go on the offense. So that can look like, and I want you guys to be thinking as I'm going through these, like, where do I default? We all do some of these or all of these, but just see like where you are. There's going to be 6 total. Which one is your go-to, or how many out of 6 do you tend to do? I'd love to kind of see that in the chat as we're going through this. So with fight, again, anger, defensiveness, perfectionism, micromanagement, pushing hard, like a real need to prove your worth, overworking, hyperachieving. In health, fight can look like you push your body past exhaustion because rest feels weak or rest feels lazy. In like wealth and abundance creation, it could be like nonstop hustling, convinced that success must be earned through hard sacrifice. And in relationships, this could look like picking fights or becoming overly critical when you feel vulnerable, maybe to avoid like deeper emotional exposure. So at its core, fight energy says, if I can dominate or control the situation, I'll be safe. And it's a high cost though. It's a high cost way to live. And it's often rooted in childhood environments where boundary or power dynamics were violated. So yeah, okay. Bindu's like, yep, me. All right. Billy Ann, yep, push my body to exhaustion. Satsuki said this is me. Kelly, overwhelmed constantly. Yeah, okay. Let's go to the next one and see if this one resonates also. Okay, so the next F is flight. So this is all about, I have to escape or outpace this threat. The flight response is all about escaping discomfort, and that's, physically, emotionally, mentally. And it's not always running out of the room. It can also be busyness, like hyper productivity. It can be overthinking or obsessively planning. It can be constantly switching goals or ideas. You start working on this, but oh no, now I want to do this. Avoiding conflict or discomfort at whatever cost. Let's give a few examples here, because throughout this workshop, I want to show you that this shows up in any important area of our life. And I do truly believe that the most important areas for any of us in our life are health, wealth, and relationships. So in health, flight can show up like researching endlessly, but never actually starting a new health protocol. Maybe you know all the things you need to do to get healthier, but you refuse to do any of them. In wealth, it could look like starting new projects or businesses and then abandoning them before you complete them or let them, launch and succeed. In relationships, it could be ghosting people. It could be leaving emotionally when things get too close, too hard. And this often is like, so what flight says is, if I can move fast enough, then I'll outrun the danger. That's kind of the inner voice with that one. But it often leads to burnout, anxiety, and feeling like you are doing everything right and still getting nowhere. It's like, how could this be? I'm doing all the things. Let's see what the comments are saying here. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Mickey said overthinking and switching goals. Erica said overthinking and avoiding conflict. Mickey, yep, that's me. All right, Lee, all of this flight with business. Yeah, okay. All right. So let's move on to the next one and see how that one resonates and who it resonates with. So the next one's freeze. This is like, I can't do anything, just stuck. Freeze response happens when your nervous system just basically slams the brakes because it doesn't believe fight and flight are possible, or one or the other, or both. So this creates shutdown, numbness, dissociation, overwhelm to the point of like paralysis, loss of motivation, maybe even loss of interest, things that you actually like care about in life. and a sense of being like on pause almost. So in health, this could be like you stop reaching out for help. You isolate, you feel unable to make appointments, work out, eat right, make decisions. In wealth, could be like you avoid looking at finances or you put off launching a business and offer getting that next, job, changing careers, whatever the thing might be. In relationships, you stop expressing your needs, you disconnect, or you freeze during like intimacy or confrontation. I need to have a drink. You guys can all play the fun game while we have this workshop of how many things is Teresa drinking, because it's more than one always. It's actually a lot more than one. All right. Anybody else is like a multiple drink drinker? Like I always have bunches of drinks. Eric does it too. I feel like it's like an ADHD trait. Like we love, coffee and water. Yep, Kelly. All right. Sometimes I just post on social media the funny pictures of my desk with multiple beverages on it. I drink them all too. I stay pretty well hydrated. All right. So freeze, deeply protective. It's what your body does when it feels that doing anything might make things worse. But the longer that you stay there, the harder it becomes to access action, connection, or even hope. So freeze can be really difficult to get back out of. All right. Deanna's like, yes. Okay. Mickey's like, wait, we could do wine during this. You can. Hey, it's your Friday. It's your day. It's your life. Work with a lot of amazing entrepreneurs who have their own schedules, and you can have whatever you want during my workshops. All right. Let's go on to the next F, fawn. Okay. So fawn is basically, I'll become who you need me to be to stay safe. Okay. So fawning is a lesser known trauma response, but for many women and men too, I've seen it in both, especially those who were raised to be good girls. And I personally think good girl conditioning also is in any gender. It's people pleasing essentially. And doing things the way that you were expected to, or being raised to be a peacemaker. It's this dominant pattern there. And it can also come through in masking. And that happens a lot with the type of people I help, neurodivergent, ADHD. We do a lot of masking. So fawning looks like chronic people pleasing, overgiving, self-abandoning, avoiding boundaries to keep others happy, and merging with others' desires and ignoring your own. So let's see, I'm seeing stuff coming up in the comments now. Yep, okay. So in health, let's go through the three main areas. In health, fawning is going to be neglecting your needs to care for others. In wealth, it's going to be undercharging, over-delivering, usually out of fear of disappointing or letting people down. In relationships, it's going to be like you suppress your emotions and needs to keep the peace. Fawning is about maintaining attachment, even at the cost of authenticity. So this often stems from early experiences where love and safety were conditional for you. So let's see. Darren's like, this resonates, different response in different areas. Yep. Tanya, me, Mickey, yes. Okay, so lots of kind of hand raising here. Katie says, my behavior changes to blend in while fawning involves prioritizing others' needs to avoid conflict. Yeah, great awareness. All right, let's go on to the next F. So the next one is flop, okay? So this is basically like, I collapse to avoid further harm. Boop, flop. Flop is similar to freeze, but it has more of like a physical shutdown quality. It's like kind of like the body going limp, giving in, or just kind of like collapsing under pressure. This is like deep dorsal vagal state, if you understand like the nervous system or polyvagal theory or any of that kind of stuff. And don't worry if you don't, we're not going to go there. Often triggered by like intense helplessness or overwhelm. So flop looks like chronic fatigue. It's like the I can't get out of bed energy. It looks like giving up before you even try, or letting other people make all of the decisions, feeling emotionally heavy, feeling hopeless, feeling like beyond repair. And so in health, This is like you resign yourself to illness or symptoms, convinced nothing will help. In wealth, this is like you just give up, like give up growing your business, give up changing your financial situation, just this is how it is, I guess. And in relationships, you may allow yourself to be mistreated, manipulated, because asserting yourself feels impossible, absolutely impossible. So, flop is often the response of someone who has been through prolonged stress, neglect, or burnout. Typically, you're going to see other things before you see flop. And it's like a final giving in when the body believes, I can't fight, I can't flee, I can't fawn, just, yeah. So let's see what's happening here. Yeah, Darren's like, burnout, yeah, definitely. Bindu, that's me these days. Denise, yep, stay in bed, only leave to bathroom, eat/drink. Mickey, yep, that's me too. Erica, yep. Katie, impossible, prolonged burnout. Tiana, this is all good stuff. Thank you. Billy Ann Ray says burnout for sure. Yeah. And it's totally possible to come back from this, guys. I have helped many clients who have come to me after burnout or, in switching careers because like corporate burned them out and they're looking for renewal and something new, or they're just like they're ready to make a comeback. It's totally possible. Some of them I think are on this call today. All right. So yeah, and Kelly says, just want to sit on the couch, but feel guilty about it. It's a hamster wheel. Mickey, burnout, anxiety, depression. Yeah, all of these things come out. All right. So now it's the cover your ears time for the kids because the last F is fuck. So this is, I'll use sexuality as a way to regulate or survive. This one isn't always talked about, but it's important to name this, especially in my community, because I know a lot of the people that I work with want to improve intimacy. They want to improve relationships. And when I say intimacy, I'm not just talking about sex. If this is a protective mechanism, then intimacy and connection will not be improved with sex applied as a protective response. Okay? So the fuck response is when sexual behavior is used as a form of nervous system regulation. Okay? Often unconsciously. It's not necessarily about desire or connection. Okay? It's about survival. So this can look like seeking validation through or control through sex. It can look like using sexual energy to avoid other emotions. It can look like being sexual when you don't actually feel safe or connected, feeling disconnected or numb during intimacy, and associating sex with a way to feel powerful or loved. Okay, so again, let's go through these 3 different areas of our life that mean so much to us. In health, this could look like ignoring your bodily boundaries or engaging in sexual activities despite discomfort or emotional pain. In abundance, wealth, this could manifest subtly in how you market or express yourself, like using seduction instead of authenticity to gain approval or attention. And in relationships, you may perform intimacy rather than experiencing it, more performative, or struggle to like receive love unless it's sexualized. So this is often rooted in past sexual trauma, boundary violations, or learned associations that sex equals safety, attention, or control. Okay, so thank you to those of you who are resonating with this. I know this is not one that people always want to be like, oh, I'll put my hands up for this, but I think we can all relate to all of these in some way, shape, or form. So let's understand why this matters, okay? Because understanding these trauma responses has nothing to do with judgment, okay? It's about awareness, it's about compassion, and it's about power, okay? And your body has done a phenomenal job of trying to keep you safe, okay? Every one of these responses is intelligent, it's adaptive, it's valid, but they're not designed to be permanent, okay? Your nervous system is adjustable. It can be rewired. You can learn to feel safe in the success that you're looking to achieve. You can learn to feel safe in rest. You can learn to feel safe in joy and pleasure and wealth and connection and intimacy and aligned action. It is all possible. The first step is recognizing which of these patterns shows up most for you and in what areas. Okay? So just take a moment after going through all of those. Is there one that you feel like shows up the most for you? And in what area of your life does it feel like it's holding you back the most? If any of you have that awareness and you want to share it, I would love to hear it. And if you want to just kind of save that as something to journal on or reflect on, that's totally cool too. I'm going to go through some of these last things that are coming through in the chat and make sure I haven't missed anything. Darren, yes, there will be a replay, and you obviously registered because you're here today. So anybody who registered gets priority access. Like the email with the replay will come out to you this afternoon, probably within a couple hours of when we wrap up here. But yeah, so you'll definitely get a replay. And let's see. Can you hit the main bullet points and patterns again for clarity? Camille, can you just put up the slide that has all of the F responses? And that way Kimberly can take a look at them. And yeah, and just as you're thinking about that, like which trauma response showed up the most? Which area of your life does it affect the most? And what might change for you if you felt safe to respond differently? So, Kimberly, did you just want the stuff on the last response, or did you want the overview on all of them? I'm happy to pull up whatever slide you wanted to see again. Last one. Can you pull up the last one, Camille? We'll get there. Okay. All right. So Kelly says freeze. Tiffany says freeze, business and relationships. And let you guys take a look at these. Camille, go one slide back to the overview of, or I don't think there was anything else, really. There wasn't anything else that went in depth on the slides on each of them, I don't think. Sorry, Kimberly, you might have to catch that on the replay. All right, so from this place of awareness, we can begin gently rewiring these patterns, okay? Not by pushing through them, but by partnering with your body and subconscious to create real, sustainable safety, okay? All right, and then I'm gonna read a couple more of these things before I go any further. Darren said, fight and fawn in my relationship and parenting probably, okay? Ashley said, I think I cycle through these on a weekly basis. I start out fighting and end up in flop only to cycle back through. Totally possible and great awareness if that is the case. Kelly says, freeze in business and being a parent to my autistic son, boarding on flop in both areas. Okay, like anybody who's in flop or feeling like flop is like inevitably like approaching really need to like tend to some of these things. In fact, if you're like not already in my community, get in there, do some of the EFT tapping rounds, start really working with your nervous system because you do not want to end up in burnout if you don't have to, and you don't have to. And you want to recover from it if you're already there, and that's totally possible too. Erica said, all of them have shown up for me in one way or another, but the most would probably be fight and flight in my professional and personal relationships. But since I've started coming to your workshops and doing the work, things have majorly shifted. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Tanya said, fight and fawn. Kimberly said, I've experienced all of these over 4 decades. Yeah. And, I knew what you meant, Kelly. Sorry, yeah, bordering. Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Thank you all for sharing that. That's really helpful, especially as we get into doing a little bit of EFT tapping here in a bit. Okay, so your body's always trying to keep you in the known, right? Because the known, no matter how painful it is familiar. Boy, I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. And familiar to the brain, to the nervous system equals safe. It's a survival thing. So this is why willpower and logic and all of the combined intelligence in this room, which is immense, are not enough to get through these things, all right? They won't work alone. You can't outthink a subconscious belief that says, if I succeed, I'll be alone. Or if I rest, I'll fall behind and lose everything. It's like you can't outrun that. So those beliefs have to be felt, processed, and replaced with something that creates true safety. And you also have to realize that the safety that you build will never be 100%. That's super important because I have so many people that are just waiting to feel ready about things, waiting to feel totally safe. You're not going to get there, okay? But it will feel safer than it did. Okay? Let that sink in because that's so important. Because otherwise, you'll be waiting forever, wondering why you're not there yet. And that's how you know that you're moving in the right direction. Okay? If you're waiting for complete safety, you will stay stuck in these patterns indefinitely. It's just not something that anybody can guarantee. All right. So let's look at some common patterns now. Remember, I told you I had a STAL acronym. We're going to look at some common patterns with sabotage. All right. And so here, what we're going to do is recognize the most common ways that this is showing up, especially, again, in the areas of health, wealth, and relationships. So let's break it down. We're going to start with the first letter, which is S. All right. And that's starting but not finishing. Okay. This is one of the most painful patterns because usually it also comes with shame. Okay. So you get the idea, you get the momentum, you start, right? But somewhere, maybe in the middle, maybe in the beginning, maybe closer to the end, it's different for everybody, your nervous system pulls the brakes. Okay. I had this client, Marcy, and she was this like really creative, intuitive entrepreneur. She had incredible ideas. Her hard drive was like full of these half-written books. So she would tell me all the time, like, oh, I got all these things sitting there and they're like half-written and they're ready almost, but not quite. All of these ebooks. And even like also like unfinished course modules that she was trying to put together to launch and like partially designed websites. She wasn't lazy. In fact, I mean, she got a lot done. She was afraid. And she was afraid of being seen. She had a lot of visibility blocks. She was afraid of judgment. And she was afraid that if she put herself out there and failed, that it would confirm every fear she'd ever had. So her subconscious linked finishing with exposure and rejection. Okay. When her nervous system remembered in one of our sessions, I think it was a hypnotherapy session that we were doing, how in childhood she was like punished when she got attention or like did something really bold. It was like this big thing. Like we uncovered that and then we used some EFT, some inner child work, some eye movement practices, and we changed the narrative for her around that. Changed the narrative around finishing. And once we did that, like she launched a course that had been sitting on her Google Drive for like over 2 years in 2 weeks. It was crazy. And it just goes to show like little shifts can have big power. Okay. So that's S, starting but not finishing. We'll move on to T. T is about time wasting through overthinking or distractions. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any comments here. Kimberly said, so true. The body always trying to keep us in the know and try to subdue conscious belief. We need ways to break free from deep hurt and shame to get unstuck. Yep. Thank you for that. Marianne said, for me, that is ongoing as I work my way out of the burnout state. I remind myself of my creativity and find my strength to continue. Beautiful, Marianne. You've come a long way. So T, time wasting, overthinking, distractions. So have you ever like written an email like 10 times and then like never sent it? Or is it just me? Ever spend like hours planning but never like launching or releasing something? Or convince yourself like, oh, I'm just not ready yet on something that you've been working on for months? That's time wasting sabotage. And So that's your brain stalling to buy time and avoid potential danger. Danger like failure, danger like judgment, or success that feels overwhelming. You're not a procrastinator, okay? You have a habit of hesitating. And that's like one of the first things you need to disconnect. Like, you are not a procrastinator. That is not who you are. That is not the capital T truth of you. Just have this habit of hesitating, all right? And that hesitation sends a stress signal to your brain that causes it to respond with fear. Okay? And that fear becomes the reason that you don't take action. All right? So, what feels like, oh, I need to be more productive, I need to get more stuff done, is often my body doesn't feel safe doing the next step. Can you see how that happens? All right. Lee's like, yeah, for 2 years, always distracting myself. And Darren, you asked, what about ADHD? I'm assuming you're asking about what about that with distraction? There's a lot of connections with ADHD in the nervous system. So when you can actually nourish and regulate your nervous system, then uh, a lot of things change with ADHD. So there's a lot of correlations there. Definitely a good topic to go deeper into on another workshop. In my line of work, I usually see something in correlation with that. But, and especially in my community, it's a lot of ADHD. And with a lot of women in the community, especially a lot of women around my age and perimenopause, hormone changes have a lot to do with the distractibility too. So that is often why, at least for women, a lot of times at this point in our life, this is like when everything kind of gets to this culmination of like, gosh, I thought I was able to keep it together in like my 20s and my 30s, and now it's just freaking impossible, you know? And so it's a lot of different things, from hormones to potential neurodivergence to just everyday self-sabotage. There's a lot of factors. So it really depends person to person on what's going on. So that would be T, install, that we just finished with. So let's move on to A. All right. So A is avoidance of what actually matters. So this is when everything but the thing that you do everything but the thing that moves the needle, basically. You might check off the easy tasks, maybe like clean your house or reorganize your utensil drawer or something like that, instead of having like a hard conversation. You might research creating 10 different other courses other than the one that you're trying to create and launch, if you're an entrepreneur or a course creator. Maybe you're scrolling instead of feeling what's actually coming up for you. Numbing. So avoidance can feel like relief in the moment, but long term creates disconnection. Okay. It creates disconnection from your desires. It creates disconnection from your truth. It creates disconnection from other people. And it's often tied to stored trauma. So this could be like avoiding intimacy when it reminds us of being hurt, avoiding investing in ourselves when money once brought pain or instability, avoiding change because we've been taught that it's dangerous. And yet it's also the only constant. So it's really a crazy paradox. The problem there is that, yeah, it's like if we can't learn to kind of go with the flow of change, it's like there's really nothing else that we can totally count on other than that things are going to inevitably change. So then we move on to L. L, leaning on people pleasing. So this is a sneaky one, especially in relationships. You silence your needs, you overgive, you say yes when you really want to say, or at least you mean no. And over time, this resentment starts to build. Your energy gets drained. Your authenticity fades. Sometimes it gets to the point where you're like, God, I don't even know what I actually like anymore. I don't really remember who I am. And that's tough. So this often starts in childhood when love was conditional, or like when connection depended on our performance or on us being helpful. Sometimes it depended on us being like little adults. So your subconscious learned that being agreeable kept you safe. Okay. But as an adult, this pattern sabotages your truth, the very truth of who you are. So if you're an ADHD adult, this mixes and blends with the masking that you might do as well. So this can really help. This can lead to decline in health. It can lead to like your income, your wealth kind of being capped. Your relationships can feel very one-sided. And, recently I was helping a client move from like chronic people pleasing to empowered boundaries. And she thought it was all about improving like her parenting. She thought that's where like the boundaries were lacking. But as we worked on that, it actually completely transformed her business and her marriage too, which was really cool to witness. And basically, it started with her no longer abandoning herself to stay safe. So it's interesting where all these roads lead when you think it's one thing and it kind of turns out to be something else, or it turns out to have a ripple effect that benefits a much broader, wider picture. So let's move on to the other L, which would be letting perfectionism paralyze you. And lots of agreement on that last one in the comments. Thank you. Let's see. Marianne said, me doing everything but the thing I really have to. Suddenly cleaning my house is my favorite task. Yep. It's funny how that works, isn't it? And when you become aware of it, you can kind of use it to your advantage too, as long as you get the other thing done also. Kind of habit stacking, so to speak. And then Marianne said, becoming the gray mouse, aka that feeling I had when getting to that state. Yeah. Growing up with a narcissistic bipolar mother, the lean is bigger than me than I thought. Oh yeah, the lean. Okay, from that last one. Okay, thank you. That makes sense, Kelly. Thanks. I've been doing my favorite task these days is just watching reels on Insta. Yeah, which like like, and I've talked to you, Bindu. I know that that's like definitely not the most valuable way you could spend your time or the most fulfilling. So there's definitely some avoidance going on there. So letting perfectionism paralyze you. Let's go over that one. Perfectionism is a common self-sabotage pattern because it feels virtuous, right? But in reality, it's fear, like well manicured, and like dressed in the fancy outfit. But it's still fear. It's fear of being wrong. It's fear of failing publicly. It's fear of not being good enough. And in most cases, perfectionism masquerades as a cover up for shame and as a way to protect ourselves from vulnerability. Okay. But the cost is that we never get to be like fully alive or fully embodied. Okay. So when you wait for perfection or a perfect moment, a perfect body, perfect financial situation, perfect wording, you wait forever. Forever. It doesn't exist. Last year, I was working with, her name was Marsha. She was working on perfectionism. And what that meant in this situation was like helping her feel safe being visible and imperfect. So within a month, like she stopped the over editing, which was like one of the things that she would do all the time. She get really stuck like editing over and over and over and over. And she started like showing up more consistently in her social media and in like, emails that she was sending and stuff that she was doing in her business. And that's when the momentum kicks in. And for her, it was like a total 180 with her business changing within like 6 months of doing these things with her nervous system and kind of rewiring some stuff subconsciously and really cultivating like embodied safety that it was going to be okay to show up as her perfectly imperfect self. So let's kind of like bring it all back here. These patterns don't just show up in business, like I mentioned. In the health, it's going to look like maybe, skipping sleep, numbing with food or screens, avoiding exercise because we link feeling good with vulnerability. Isn't that interesting? And then in wealth, it can look like avoiding money. It can look like undercharging. It can look like spending emotionally to self-soothe. How many people have ever just, checked something out real quick in Amazon and gotten that little dopamine hit and soothed with it? Yep. So, and then in relationships, there's lots of those. Yeah. Okay. This could be like pushing away intimacy, or even like choosing the chaos over the calm and the peace because it's like what you know, it's what's familiar, or just losing yourself to somehow stay accepted. Okay. And this could be like in a parenting relationship or in like a partnership or a marriage. So let's just pause here. And I just want you to ask yourself, where have I been calling it procrastination or calling it inconsistency or calling it lack of motivation, but really I'm protecting myself? Let yourself just be curious about that, not critical. Okay. Because what I want you to really know and understand here is that, like, you're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not a failure, you're wise, you're this protective being whose nervous system has been trying to keep you safe based on an old story that is no longer relevant. So you have the opportunity and the ability to write a new one. We're going to start doing that right now. And that's pretty awesome, actually, that we always have that ability to write a new chapter, make it different than it was before. So before we kind of start shifting and doing some EFT together, which we're going to do really soon, just want to kind of show you the self-sabotage loop in action, okay? Because now that you understand how your nervous system plays a role in self-sabotage and how those deeper trauma responses like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, flop, and fuck might be influencing your behaviors, let's like zoom in on how those protective mechanisms actually play out on a day-to-day basis, okay? With your habits. So this is where we move from understanding to identifying. All right. And some of you have been identifying already. So that's great. Because insight without awareness of your own patterns, it's like knowing that like a map exists, but not knowing where you are on it. And that's not very helpful. So I want to introduce you to just a very simple final framework here. Oh, it's almost final. I think there's another short one after this one. Sorry, I love my acronyms and my frameworks. So this is going to be like the pass loop. So because these behaviors tend to run on autopilot until you like consciously press pause, pass ends up standing for procrastination, avoidance, spinning, and shutdown. So these are often like the last mile behaviors. These are the ones that kick in like right when you're about to take action. Okay. These are like the ones that keep you on the edge of momentum, but never quite in it. All right. So let's explore those in just a little bit more depth. So P, pass, procrastination. I'll do it later, maybe. This one's sneaky because we often rationalize it. Like we say that we're waiting for the right time, more clarity, perfect conditions, but procrastination is almost never about time. It's about tension. Okay. It's the nervous system whispering, doing this feels unsafe. So we delay. So again, looking through those three areas of life, health, you're putting off scheduling. You're not starting the fitness plan. You're researching some symptom, but not doing anything about it. In your abundance, you're procrastinating on upping your rates or publishing something that could sell like hotcakes. In your relationships, you're avoiding those hard conversations. You keep putting off, date night or delaying expressing your needs. And often the longer we delay, the more the shame builds and the harder it becomes to take action. Okay. And then with avoidance, the A, if I don't look at it, it doesn't exist, right? So this is different from procrastination in that it's not just delay, it's complete disconnection. Avoidance happens when a part of you decides it's safer to not even acknowledge the task, conversation, or issue at all. Okay. So this could be like not opening emails, letting bills pile up, avoiding looking in the mirror even, or getting on the scale, ignoring texts from somebody that you care about, staying busy with little tasks to avoid the one big thing that actually might change your life for the better. So this is like, let's just pretend this isn't here because I can't handle this right now. Okay. But the problem is that what you avoid does not go away, it just grows in darkness. So then we go into spinning. Spinning is like, I'm working on it, sort of. And with this one, the common patterns I see, it's common with like really with like high functioning anxiety. And that's a lot of what I see in my business. And it's exhausting. So spinning feels like effort, but it's actually an avoidance strategy wrapped in productivity. So this might be like constantly tweaking your branding, your messaging, your website, reworking your offer again, taking another course before you feel ready. I call it certificationitis. Planning, researching, organizing, but never actually doing the thing. Okay. It's an illusion of progress. It's a loop. Okay. Um, I had a client that was like in this loop for a really long time. Um, she was always like reworking like the fonts and the program names and the colors and things like that for her business. But it was like protection. It was protection from the vulnerability of being seen, kind of like the client that I mentioned earlier. And yeah, you can like when you get to that subconscious root, you can really provide the safety that wasn't there before and really reparent yourself. You know, you are the only one that knows what the you from before needed and didn't get, and you're the only one that can give it to them the way that they really want it. And that's a lot of what happens through work like this. And it's amazing how it changes the way that we show up. So yeah, just I mean, done and visible beats perfect and hidden every single time. All right, let's go on to the S. So S is shutdown. It's like, I just can't. So this can feel like depression. It can feel a lot like the flop. So depression, fatigue, zoning out, numbing. It's the moment that your system says, nope, that's too much. Okay. This can be like feeling paralyzed by options, losing your motivation completely. You just stop responding to messages or following up. You're scrolling, you're binge watching, you're emotionally flat, even when you really want to like care and do things differently. So this can be like your internal world feels like really chaotic or overstimulated, and your system just flips the switch and you check out. So yeah, reflection moment here. Which one of these do you guys default to? Procrastination, avoidance, spinning, or shutdown? Which of these feels like your typical go-to? You can drop it in the chat if you're here. Or, you know, if you're watching the replay later, write it down in a journal, think on it. Linda says avoidance. Tracy says shutdown. Tiffany says procrastination and shutdown. Lee says all of them. Marianne says spinning. Erica says shutdown. Yeah, thanks, guys. All right. Yeah. Okay. And here's an observation from an expert both at living these behaviors and helping people overcome them, me. You might rotate between all of them. You know, it's totally possible depending on the area of life or the fear that doing the thing generates. You might procrastinate around health, spin in your business, and like completely shut down in your relationships. The key is don't judge yourself. The key is to notice. Awareness is the catalyst for change, okay? Because when you notice the pattern, you can pause the loop and you can choose differently, okay? That's what this entire process is about. From here, we can start looking at how to shift these patterns, not by force, but by making forward movement feel safe again, okay? All right, so sit with one more question before we kind of head into doing some things to work on this. If you're not broken, if you're not lazy, what might this behavior be trying to protect you from? Just let yourself be curious about that. Curiosity is great for opening up doors to change for all of us. So just let yourself be curious about that. And then, so we got to understand now, like, why does the nervous system and the subconscious matter so damn much? And why are so many of us bypassing without realizing it? All right. So let's zoom out for a second here and just talk about why the nervous system and subconscious mind are like so vital to everything we've been discussing, and why most people are like totally not working with it. Your subconscious mind is actually responsible for about 95% of your behavior. Okay? That means almost all of your decisions, reactions, habits, responses are made automatically beneath the surface of conscious awareness. Okay? And your nervous system is like the gatekeeper. It decides moment by moment whether something feels safe or threatening, not based on logic, but based on past experiences and learned associations. Okay? So when the subconscious says success is dangerous because it led to burnout or rejection, you're going to listen to that. When your nervous system says resting feels unsafe because, you were only praised for being productive, then you're going to unconsciously sabotage the very things you say you want. Okay? So why is this so overlooked? Why is everybody not doing this? The reason that these patterns get missed in traditional coaching, productivity tools, or even therapy is because they're often invisible and like nonlinear, okay? You can't always think your way into safety, okay? You can't always plan your way out of resistance. You can't affirm your way through a trauma response if your body doesn't feel safe. And yet, most solutions people reach for completely bypass the deeper layer, okay? So this shows up like shiny object syndrome. How many people have shiny object syndrome? Let's be honest, like most of us, right? Okay. So especially high achievers, and we buy things thinking like, this will finally like get me to follow through, or this is going to help me stay consistent, or this is going to fix my procrastination or my lack of motivation. And yeah, the nervous system and the subconscious mind, if they're not on board, then no planner, no app, no productivity system is going to stick where safety has not yet been embodied. Okay? So here's a few examples, all right, of like nervous system bypassing behaviors that people spend time and money on only to feel like they've failed when it doesn't work. Okay? So in business or productivity, are you like buying another planner, another calendar system, another productivity app, hoping that the structure is going to change the sabotage? Maybe you're signing up for another course or a certification, but never finishing it. Maybe you're joining coaching programs, but ghosting halfway through. You're not because you don't care, but because visibility feels threatening and pressure shuts you down. Maybe you're investing in like branding, websites, photo shoots, when the real block is fear of being seen. These aren't bad things, but they're ineffective when you haven't addressed the root safety issues underneath your patterns, okay? So in health, you might see this as starting a new like fitness challenge only to like lose steam after the first week. Not because you don't have willpower, but because your system associates change or weight loss or whatever's going to result from this challenge with danger or shame. Maybe you're over-researching nutrition plans or supplements, but never committing because fear of failure or past body trauma still lives like in like the literal tissue of your body, okay? Maybe you're bypassing emotional processing with like wellness stacking, like you're doing all the things, cold plunges, fasting, detoxes, whatever, instead of actually connecting with how you feel, okay? Again, these are all things that can be supportive, but if your body is not on board, they become another form of control, not a form of healing and progress, okay? And then in relationships, maybe you're like reading all the relationship books. There's so many good ones out there. I've read many of them myself. Maybe you're following the advice, but you're still defaulting to people pleasing, shutting down, or avoiding intimacy. Okay. Maybe you're going on dates, but sabotaging connection because vulnerability feels unsafe. Or you're going to therapy, but you're not able to actually express your truth because your subconscious is still protecting you from past pain. Okay. You can know everything about communication or attachment theory, but if your body tightens every time you get close to someone, your nervous system is still in charge. Okay? So this matters immensely because when we bypass the subconscious and the nervous system, we don't just waste time and money, we reinforce shame and we end up thinking, I just can't stay consistent. Maybe I'm not cut out for all of this. Everybody else seems to be getting it right. What the fuck is wrong with me? Okay? And that doesn't help. Nothing's wrong with you. Okay? You are not undisciplined. You're protected. Okay? Your brain and body are doing what they were designed to do. Keep you alive, keep you safe, based on your history. Okay? And the truth that you deserve to know is that like you're not a hot mess. You're not behind, okay? You've just been trying to build your life on top of a nervous system that hasn't been taught how to feel safe with ease, rest, power, visibility, intimacy, so many other things. Okay? This is why your subconscious and nervous system matter so much. This is the tangibility of work where you can't quite see what's happening. This is the tangible side of it. This is what the transformation leads you through to. Okay? Because when you retrain your subconscious and your nervous system to feel safe with success, everything changes. Okay? And that's why I get so frustrated when I see people investing in like business coaching alone without this type of support, or the next how-to kind of steps when they haven't worked for them before because they're completely bypassing the thing that's going to trip them up every time until they fix it or nourish it or help it. Okay? So yeah, you're gonna like you ghost your goals, and when you fix this loop, you stop self-sabotaging, you start finishing, you stop wasting energy on tools that aren't trauma-informed. You start trusting yourself to take aligned, sustainable action. And that is what creates real transformation. But the thing is that it requires you to slow down to gain traction. And for most people, that does not feel safe. Okay? There's a whole chapter in my book called Slow is the New Fast. And it truly is. When you can learn to actually slow down, you get so much more done. You feel so much better. And it's like the rubber finally meets the road. So yeah, you don't need more pressure. You don't need more plans. You just, need to give your nervous system that permission. So now I want to help you shift the pattern, guys. All right, let's do a little EFT. If you've never done EFT before, then we're gonna talk a little bit about how that works. And this is gonna help us with safety, ownership, and support. Okay, SOS. All right, this is how we shift it. Safety is what your body needs to feel safe to succeed. Ownership is about you reclaiming your power when you stop blaming and shaming yourself. And support is the idea that you don't have to do this alone. Okay. This is the foundation of how I work with clients, and this is what we're going to do with our EFT tapping round. So if you haven't done EFT tapping before, you can find so many resources on this in my school community. I'll give you the information on how to join if you're not already a member over there. And if you receive emails from me, there's always like a little school logo where you can join on there. But I'm not going to go into explaining a lot of this. I really want to take you through EFT tapping as well as like a hypnotic visualization, and have a little bit of time for Q&A and to give you guys an awesome gift at the end of this too. So with like 18 minutes left, I want to keep rolling. But in a nutshell, if you're not familiar with EFT tapping, it is nervous system nourishment. It removes energetic blockages, which are the basis of any dis-ease, including self-sabotage and procrastination. And what we're going to do is going to be kind of like follow the leader. I'm going to say something while tapping a part of my body. We're going to start on the side of the hand. We're going to go through the top of the head, the eyebrow point, which is basically where your eyebrow starts, the side of the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, the collarbone, and under the arm. We're going to do this a few times through, and I'm going to be saying statements related to self-sabotage. All of you are muted, so if what I'm saying, if you have like a version of it that feels more authentic and more gritty, say that version, okay? EFT loves specificity, and you will remove more blockages by saying the thing that feels authentically true to you, okay? You can add in some curse words. You can add in whatever you like. You're on mute. Have fun with this. Make yourself feel good. We're gonna look at self-sabotage here with this. So All right, I need first for us to just kind of assess how we are feeling before we start. That's always really important. So, the idea here is when you think of your relationship with procrastination and self sabotage, how much is it separating you from how you want to show up in your life, business, relationships? Okay. Give me a 0 to 10 number where like 10 is it's super duper holding you back, and 0 is like procrastination, self sabotage. What's that? Not my problem. And yeah, thank you, Denise, for starting to drop those in the chat, and also remember your number, because what I want you to do is I want you after this to rate yourself again, but it's so helpful for me if you give me both numbers afterwards. So like let's say you're at a 9 right now and afterwards you're at like a 2. I want to see like 9 to 2. Because that's going to be more helpful. I can't scroll up and see all these and then scroll down. It's just so remember your number, write it down somewhere where you're going to remember it. And thank you for dropping them in the chat. That's super helpful. I see a lot of high numbers. You're in the right place, guys. All right. So I'm going to get started, and we're gonna tap it out together. And I know you guys are muted and I can't hear you. If is there somebody that would like to volunteer to unmute? I love having a shadow because that lets me know I'm not going too fast, I'm not going too slow, and it feels less weird to me. Can I get a volunteer? Darren, go ahead. Unmute yourself, and you're just going to say back the line right after I say it and tap the spot that I'm tapping.
Okay.
So thank you for volunteering. I feel so awkward when I'm in like, I've got like 30 some people here and it's just like me talking. So thank you. All right. So let's get started here. We're going to start on the side of the hand. Take a deep breath, everybody, too, just to get started. And also, even though you are mostly muted, speak out loud. Don't not say the stuff. Saying it out loud helps, and making it specific to what you're feeling helps. All right, here we go. Even though I keep sabotaging myself.
Even though I keep sabotaging myself.
And it's so frustrating.
And it's so frustrating.
I want to deeply and completely accept myself.
I want to deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I say I want to change, but something always stops me.
Even though I say I want to change, but something always stops me.
I honor this resistance that has been trying so hard to protect me.
Honor this resistance that has been trying so hard to protect me.
Even though there's part of me that's scared to move forward.
Even though there's part of me that's scared to move forward.
Might even think I might fail again.
I might even think I might fail again.
I choose to believe I can write a new story.
I choose to believe I can write a new story.
All right, now we're going to start moving through the other points with the top of the head here. I feel like I'm always getting in my own way.
I feel like I'm always getting in my own way.
I make plans, I get inspired, and then I stall.
I make plans, I get inspired, and then I stall.
I say I want better health.
I say I want better health.
More money.
More money.
Deeper relationships.
Deeper relationships.
But then I procrastinate.
Then I procrastinate.
I avoid and I sabotage it all.
I avoid and I sabotage it all.
I feel like I can't trust myself to follow through.
I feel like I can't trust myself to follow through.
I have started so many things that I have never finished.
I have started so many things that I have never finished.
Makes me feel ashamed and disappointed and tired.
It makes me feel ashamed and disappointed and tired.
What if I'm never the person who actually gets there?
What if I'm never the person who actually gets there?
Maybe this isn't just laziness or failure.
Maybe this isn't just laziness or failure.
Maybe it's fear.
Maybe it's fear.
Fear of being seen, fear of failure, fear of change.
Fear of being seen, fear of failure, fear of change.
Maybe my nervous system still thinks success isn't safe.
Maybe my nervous system still thinks success isn't safe.
Maybe that's why I check out
Maybe that's why I check out
or shut down or stay stuck.
or shut down or stay stuck.
All of these fight or flight responses.
All of these flight or fight responses.
They've been trying to keep me safe,
They've been trying to keep me safe,
even when it doesn't feel good.
even when it doesn't feel good.
And I've spent so much time and money on things that didn't work.
And I've spent so much time and money on things that don't work
Because I never knew I needed to start with my nervous system.
I never knew I needed to start with my nervous system.
I'm open to the idea that it's safe for me to follow through.
I'm open to the idea that it's safe for me to follow through.
What would it take for me to trust myself more than I ever have before?
What would it take for me to trust myself more than I ever have before?
To slow down so that I don't need to hustle or push.
Slow down so I don't need to hustle or push.
And to feel safe moving in calm clarity.
And to feel safe moving in calm clarity.
I can take action from alignment, not fear.
I can take action from alignment, not fear.
I am building a version of me that finishes what she starts.
I am building a version of me that finishes what she starts.
And I'm creating safety in my body.
And I'm creating safety in my body
Around rest, success, and connection.
around rest, success, and connection.
Opening up to the possibility of real, lasting change.
Opening up to the possibility of real, lasting change
That lets me embody my goals.
that lets me embody my goals.
I get to rewrite the narrative.
I get to rewrite the narrative.
And I'm allowed to succeed.
And I'm allowed to succeed.
All right, take a nice deep breath through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth or your nose, whichever one feels good to you. And just notice what's shifted here in this present moment. And thank you, Darren, so much for mirroring me there. That was helpful. If you think about your relationship right now in this moment, I know you haven't tried to do anything or anything else right now, but just how you feel right in this moment. Where is the number now? Between 0 to 10, as far as like how much you feel like it's holding you back or separating you from what you want to do in your life. Just see those numbers again. Wow, I have no words. Eye-opening. Yeah, we're doing that. All right. Let's see. Just reading through. There's a lot of comments here. I'm not going to read them all. I see a 6 to a 4, a 7 to a 2, a 9 to a 5. Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. Feeling serene. 7, a little crying in there. That's perfect. I saw a lot of my favorite thing to see during this too was just a lot of yawning. And for anybody who hasn't tapped before or isn't familiar, that's like energetic blockages releasing when we yawn. So yawning is always a good thing to see. So yeah, just tune into what's shifted. And while everybody's feeling a little bit more relaxed and just kind of settling in with, hey, I don't need to fix everything today. I don't have to have it all figured out. You know, this can be a great way to like strengthen the signal that change is possible and safe. So now we tapped into some new space in the nervous system. Let's take a moment to drop even deeper. We're going to do a little hypnotic visualization. So I just want you to, from your comfortable space, whether you're sitting or whatever, I want you just to close your eyes, let your eyes close down. Let your hands rest softly in your lap or by your sides. Take a slow, deep breath through your nose and just fully arrive here in this space with this breath in this moment, just for you. Just settle in. Maybe soften your eyes a bit in their socket. Let your body feel supported. Focus in on your breath. Slow, gentle, deep breaths and exhales. Letting go of everything you were holding on to before this. Letting go of any thoughts about what comes next. Just allowing yourself to soften. Inhale again, filling your lungs, your belly, your whole system with calm. And exhale, releasing tension, resistance, any leftover noise from this day. Inhale possibility, exhale pressure. Let go of any pressure to do this right. There's nothing to achieve, only a remembering, a returning. I want you to imagine a soft golden light beginning to glow at the center of your chest, right in your heart. Okay, it's warm, it's safe, it's gentle. This light holds the energy of clarity, safety, peace, self-trust. It represents your truest self, the version of you that already exists underneath the fear, the patterns, the protection. Like the capital T truth of who you really are. As you breathe, that light begins to expand, spreading through your chest, spreading through your shoulders, down your arms, warming your belly, flowing into your hips, your legs, all the way down to your toes. And it spreads upwards too. It's in your throat, your jaw, your forehead, until your whole body is just glowing with this grounded, golden presence. This is you without the sabotage. This is you without the shame, without those old useless stories. Now, in your mind's eye, I want you to picture this version of you who already lives in alignment. The version who already follows through with grace and trust. This version feels safe being seen, being loved, being successful, being rested. Feels safe receiving. Just see her now, standing in front of you. Maybe she looks like you. Maybe she feels slightly elevated, clearer, calmer. Just let her come into full focus. If there's any men doing this along with us, let him come into full focus. I'm just going to stay with the female narrative here for now. Notice how she carries herself. Notice the softness in her jaw. Notice the steadiness in her eyes. Notice the way she takes up space, not by force, but by simply allowing herself to be, not do, just be. This version of you moves through her days with more peace, less pressure. She's no longer chasing success to prove her worth. She's creating from alignment. She knows how to honor her body. She knows how to honor her energy. She sets boundaries with ease, receives love and abundance without guilt or fear. Finishes what she starts. Not because she's hustling or proving, but because she's grounded. Take a moment to notice. What is she doing in her life right now that you've been afraid to do? Maybe she's producing something, launching something, releasing something into the world. Maybe she's saying no to something. Maybe she's making a bold ask. Maybe she is resting unapologetically and without shame. Maybe she's loving more deeply. Maybe she's receiving love more deeply. Maybe she's allowing herself to be seen, to be heard, to be visible, to be vulnerable. See her doing that thing with full presence, full confidence. And now let her turn to you. Watch as she gently just smiles and opens her arms. She's not separate from you. She is you. She's just a few layers closer to the truth. Take a step toward her now. Feel yourself begin to merge with her. Her breath becomes your breath. Her ease becomes your ease. Her alignment becomes your alignment. Just let that integration happen naturally, gently. You don't need to force anything. You're not trying to fix anything. You're simply remembering who you really are. Now, if you're imagining or if you want to actually put your hand on your heart, I want you to just quietly repeat to yourself, I am safe to follow through. I am safe to receive. I am safe to succeed. I am also safe to fail forward. I am safe to be fully me. I want you to imagine a soft wave of relaxation beginning at the top of your head, melting down over your forehead, smoothing your eyes and your jaw, flowing down your neck and your shoulders, releasing tension as it goes. Down through your arms, down through your chest, down through your belly. With every breath, that wave continues down through your hips, through your legs, all the way down through your feet. It's like warm sunlight or a soft golden blanket, inviting your entire body. Just let go, just a little more. This is your time to reconnect, to feel safe in stillness, to create from within. And as your body settles, your mind can begin to gently open to a new vision, a new reality, a new story, a new way of being. Let this version of you settle in. She's not out there. She's already within you. Just let those words echo. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in, biggest inhale of the day. Hold that breath. And release. Wiggle your fingers and toes, and you can gently open your eyes and come back in the room with me. Beautiful job, everybody. All right. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear what came up both during that tapping and during that visualization. I'd love to hear where you felt things in your body and what feels ready to shift, or if any memories came up. Before I open up though for Q&A, because I know that we are pretty much at the mark of when this was scheduled to end, and I will go longer. I always save extra time for you guys. I want to just, if Camille, if you can share again, what we're doing here today is powerful, but it's like just the beginning, okay? So there's a gap basically between what we've done and what you need to pinpoint about your own self-sabotage and how it relates to your ultimate goals. And bridging that gap is like my area of expertise. So if you find yourself ready to go deeper, then I want to invite you to come spend 15 minutes with me. where we can go deeper, where we can map out exactly what's necessary for you to achieve the changes you desire in a free bonus Clarity Catalyst session. Okay. This is a one-to-one call that you can schedule with me, completely free and complimentary. I will help you uncover the subconscious roots of your self-sabotage and give you some clear next steps to honor your nervous system. Okay. And for those of you who attend these calls, I'm also going to give you a bundle of self-sabotage and procrastination resources to help you with your journey, as well as a copy of the replay of today's session that you can refer to for as long as you like. So you will walk away with valuable insights, real strategy, and real clarity on what's been holding you back and how to break free. And you can book this call by going to gamechangingconversation.com/clarity catalyst. CLARITYCATALYST. So you can go to there, you can book the call, and I would love to see you on one of those in the next couple of weeks and support you in like stepping into your power fully and unapologetically. You don't need to force your way to success, guys. Okay, you just need the right tools, the right support, and the safety to flow into it. And also, I want to invite you, for anybody who is not already part of my community on School, please join us over there. It's where you're going to need to go to access the replay anyway, so you might as well get your join request in so that you can get the replay later. The website here to join School is on the page, or if you go to school, SKOOL.com, and you go to the discovery page and just type in my name, Teresa Lear Levine, you'll see the Becoming More Me community pop right up, and just answer a couple of quick questions, and one of my admins will let you in there. There's so many resources there too, guys. If you're not already over there, I highly suggest it. There's tons of video tapping sessions, and I'll help you find whatever's going to help you the most if you just DM me over there. All right. So now that we've gotten that stuff covered, I want to open up the floor for anybody that has questions, and I want to also take some time to look through the chat that I have been not seeing here for a little bit. So let me just take a minute to catch up with things here. Okay, I'm going to go back to before we started doing all that stuff. We went through the EFT stuff. Okay, people were feeling lighter. Okay, Amy said after we were done with the hypnosis, the wowza. Yes, calmness and now a 4. Awesome. Got some nice hearts from Kelly. Duran said, thank you. This is so powerful. Teresa said, wow. Thank you so much. That was really good. Said Bindu. Erica said, a lot of tightness in my chest. Then when we started, visualized my Viking warrior self climbing into my brain like she's back. That's awesome. Tanya said, powerful. I felt immense tense restriction in my throat, then tingling all over, and tears started flowing. Wow. Love that. Okay. And then Camille also shared that link for the call with you guys in the chat. So if anybody's looking to book one of those calls and you just want to click the link instead of trying to type it, it's right there. All you got to do is click on it. Kelly said, thank you, Teresa. Always wonderful. Thank you. I feel drained, which can actually be kind of good. Sometimes you got to drain the stuff out that's not helping you before you can replace it with the stuff that does. Billy Ann Ray said, it's so amazing. Got some light bulbs and sunshine. I love it. All right. Lots of thanks. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm grateful. This always fills my cup just to spend time with you all and be able to do this together. So anybody want to ask any questions or anything? If you want to even just kind of like either raise your hand here on Zoom or put a question in the chat, I'm happy to answer it. Teresa said, this is by far the best online program I have ever attended. Oh, very deep and helpful. Thank you. Thank you. I always say between my workshops and my free community, which I've just invited you all to join, my intention is to give you an experience with the free resources that I provide that is better than the last like 5-figure program you invested in. Okay. And then if you want to do further work with me, then you can only imagine what I'm going to deliver there when I deliver like this in my free stuff. Okay. All right. So, Darren said, please review spots of tapping and why they work. All right. So I can do kind of a brief overview for you. And then again, if you're in the community, are you in the School community, Darren? No, definitely join. There's tons of videos to go deeper into this, but basically the points for tapping are based on meridian endpoints, the same kind of points that would be accessed if you went to an acupuncturist where they were putting needles into that point, into those points, or if you went to a massage therapist that does like deep tissue massage. So these are where like the energy tend to get blocked. Now we have thousands of meridian endpoints all over our body. If you've ever looked at like an acupressure or acupuncture chart, they're like all over the place. But Gary Craig, who founded EFT and created it, recognized in his studies and research that we really only needed those 9 points that we use today for a complete energetic overhaul. Now, before that, when people were doing other patterns with meridian endpoints, they would go to all different places on the body. But Gary Craig recognized that you could get as good of a result, if not better, with just those points. I do sometimes put in other points in my work, and the different points do correspond to different areas on the body and stuff. Again, if you like look at an acupressure or acupuncture chart, you'll kind of see the different areas and what they can correspond to organ-wise. They also have like metaphysical correlations. If you're familiar with Louise Hay, who founded Hay House, she has a lot of things where you can kind of like look at like the metaphysical or the emotional ways that different physical things manifest. So that's the reason why we use those different points. And the points that we use today were the side of the hand, which is called the karate chop point, the top of the head, the eyebrow point, side of the eye, under the nose, under the mouth. They call this one the collarbone point, but it's more like that sore spot on your chest if you just did a good chest workout, like the next day when the soreness sets in. It's not actually the bone up here, it's below that and that kind of sore spot on your chest. And then under the arm, which for any bra wearing woman is where that strap would go around. Not like your armpit, but down a little lower. So yeah, awesome. And then you said it was sore when I tapped, okay? Did you do a good chest workout yesterday? I did, I could feel it. All right. Any other questions? Or even if anybody just wants to like share what happened for them or what came up, this is the place and the time to do that. Floor is open. I'm done yipping and yapping. You can feel free to just unmute and talk too. And if nobody has anything they want to talk about, then I'll let y'all get back to your Friday. We've got company coming in from out of town, and we're going to go out and have some fun with the kids. Thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate it. I know, it's easy to register for something, but actually showing up live, I really do appreciate the amount of time that you invested in being here and learning and participating and everything else. I know we all have lots of choices for where we can be and what we can invest our time in, and time is literally our most valuable asset. So when you spend an hour and a half with me on a Friday afternoon, like I feel it. So thank you all. If nobody has any questions, then we're going to wrap up. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you. I feel like I got a lot out of this Zoom. I've usually tuned out, and this one I've stayed so tuned in. I'm so curious as to like how you have figured it out in so many ways and have such a visual acuity for the ad. It really drew me in, and I think I'm definitely in the right spot. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for voicing that and sharing that with me. It means so much. I'm always changing the ways that I, promote things and advertise them and everything else. And it feels like things really resonated with a lot of people this time around. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say before we wrap up?
I would just like to share something, Teresa. The clarity of going from the burnout and going through all those stages and actually getting more words put onto the feelings that have been going on really helped me to connect with where I've been as to where I am now. And it's just amazing. So yeah.
That's awesome. Can you share any further on that? Like what you connected that you hadn't before?
I was talking about what was it? Just 1 second. With the past, it was the spinning.
Okay.
Could you just go back to that one, and then I can just go through what I was thinking. Yeah.
Are you able to share that slide again, Camille? I've accepted my failure with tech, and I just allow my assistant to show the slides for me. So much less stressful.
You gotta do what works best, Teresa. Camille is awesome at doing
I couldn't
this,
live without my Camille. She's awesome, but she may not be tuning in right now. I'll go back to past though. I can go back to the acronym. You said it was spinning. So when we were talking about spinning, I was talking about like how you constantly might tweak things for a business, reworking offers, taking courses to feel ready, planning, researching, organizing, but never actually doing the thing. Those were kind of like the illusion of progress type stuff. That's what was coming up during the spinning part of that acronym.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, with the procrastination, I've been procrastinating,
we got it.
Procrastinating so much throughout my burnout and with the recovery part of things. So yeah, with the spinning, I'm working on it. Well, sort of. So I got a lot of shiny object syndromes going on. But the part of me being able to stay on track for those specific tasks, those are easier now than they were before.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anybody actually knows your story and knows how much you've been through in the last year and how much has improved for the better, Marianne and I just finished working together for the last like 3 months, and like the amount of change and progress has been insane. So I hope you're having some compassion for yourself with the areas that you're still working on. Like we're always becoming more me. But like it's insane the amount of progress.
I wrote with the creativity side of things. Like I remember my creative side, and everything just seems to flow easier, despite of having these setbacks. So the setbacks are more minor than major now than they were before. So yeah, that's definitely a huge improvement on my part as well for the stuff we've been working through and the work I've been doing myself between our sessions. And
yeah, I mean, I've literally like witnessed you going from like that stalled kind of stuckness into momentum
I went from
movement in everything from
fatigue to actually just glowing and thriving. So
yeah,
and that was just 3 months. Imagine what more time can do. Well,
yes, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that, Marianne. Would anybody else like to share anything or ask anything? No? Well, I guess I would just say if you're curious about understanding more, or does somebody just unmute?
Yeah, I was trying to say something.
Go for it.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, who's talking? I can't see you.
This is Bindu.
Oh, hey, Bindu, I do see you now. Okay. Too many people on my screen.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought I was the only one who was feeling all these feelings. It's like since childhood, I think I was the one who was always tagged as the difficult one and the really, angry one, and always like demanding things and yelling and screaming because I wasn't feeling heard. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Nobody understands me. I don't want to say anything. I just don't want to express myself. And I'm like, oh, so many people, feel that way. I honestly thought I was the only one who was being difficult. And that's how I felt.
No, you're definitely not alone. Definitely not. So I'm glad you found your way here.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, and I see a couple comments here to respond to also. Thank you for sharing that, Bindu. I see John said, wow, wasn't expecting tears. Is that normal or common? Feels like a good thing. Yeah, it is actually pretty common. There's a lot of things that happen as we like release and shift energy. So I'll say one thing is make sure you all have had plenty to drink. And I'm going to have a sip of water right now too. But energy moves a lot better when you have a hydrated body, and we have moved a significant amount of energy today. And you may notice like little things kind of coming up throughout the day for you. And tears, yawning, all of that kind of stuff is it's release. So a lot of times we have pushed things down or pushed things away, and then doing something like this addresses that, and then things come up that you haven't thought about or felt in a really long time, and tears can come along with that. I always, my clients, I always say I need to add to my protocol that tissue should be nearby during sessions, because there's usually crying, but there's also usually a lot of laughing too. So it's like we balance it all out. But yeah, totally normal. So thank you for asking that. All right, let's see. Okay, more people had tears during the session. Cool. All right. I tell people are kind of dropping off here, so if nobody else has anything, then we'll wrap up. And if you do, I'm still here, so feel free to chime in. Eric said the downloads after the tapping are always the best. Aha moments. Yep. Yep, you will find more things coming into your consciousness throughout the day. And definitely like book a clarity catalyst session so that we can unpack that and you can get some like personalized suggestions for what you're going through. That's like the whole purpose of that. So don't hesitate on that. Just book it. We'll spend 15 minutes together. You'll walk away with some more aha moments and insights that are like just for you. And it's going to be really helpful. So, alrighty. Well, if that's all you guys, have, then I will just kind of maybe leave you with some thoughts here. Like, you don't have to force your way to success. Just, I hope you're walking away with that, and that, the safety that you can cultivate through things like this can be immensely helpful. And also that healing is relational. Like, you can only get so far on this path solo. Most of the things that have us feeling unsafe with the businesses that we're building or the relationships that we either desire or are already in, or our own physical health, those things, the hurts originally started relationally. And guess what? They also heal much more fully in relationship. So yes, you can do a lot of healing on your own, but at some point, relational healing is going to be your best way to have even more success getting where you're trying to go. So thank you guys for being here. As I said before, you're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not behind. You are powerful, you are wise, and you are ready. And thank you for being here with me today. I can't wait to see you guys inside of a Clarity Catalyst session or inside of the school community. All right, take care, everybody.